Muffler, the show where we talk about all things virtual racing championship. I'm your host, Eddie Kalegi, as always. Lots to get to in this show. Biggest things that we're just going to be talking about, a lot of news with the league. We're planning to be joined by a lot of drivers, and your headliner is your winner from the Daytona 125, Tyler McDonald. And of course, the thing to note, we won't be putting up the video of the race till Saturday. If you don't want to be spoiled by the winner, do not listen to this till Saturday. And then you can listen to it afterwards. But anyway, we have some news to get to. We got to talk about that race first. And boy, was the Daytona 125 a crazy one. It started with Jarrett Talmadge, Andy Barr up front. We were wondering, when would the big one happen? Turn 1, lap 1, Austin Switzer upside down in a big crash. Just a big collection of wrecks leading towards the halfway bonus. Cars getting stuck on the apron. It was just crazy. Caleb McDonald was able to sneak through in the 21 and grab the halfway bonus. Ethan Hoffman was eliminated early, as was Jarrett Talmadge, two of the favorites. We headed into the second half of the race with Caleb Rose and Caleb McDonald playing some interesting pit strategy, which was pretty interesting on their parts, just the way that they strategically went at it, not pitting at some points, and they were up front. But then late in the race, a late race caution, which led to the timer coming on the game, which ended up in all kinds of controversy with the timer coming on, and we ended up going to a second lobby to finish it out. But it just, Andy Barr, Donovan David were lost in that one, and in the end, Tyler McDonald was able to hold off Nick Barcom as they sped away for the victory. So the aftermath of the race was a rule change that now, if the timer comes on, we will no longer go to another lobby. We will just stay in the same one. We will race back to the line whenever that timer were to come on. The two other bits of news that are really important to get to before we get to any sort of interviews. The first one we got to talk about is Nick Barcom, who finished second place in that 14, who was working pretty well with the Toyotas, has decided to switch and move to the Toyota Virtual Alliance. So Ethan Hoffman's Haas Online Racing drops to just a single car operation once again, with Barcom now one of 4 entries for TVA. All 4 have guaranteed that they will be racing at Las Vegas. He will be driving the new 19 car with the 11 of Tyler McDonald, the 20 of Caleb Rose, and the 18 of Dustin Love, who is unavailable for the Daytona 125, will be on track at Vegas. And now that Barcom has switched, Caleb Rose finished 3rd in the Daytona 125. It ensures right now the Toyota has 1, 2, and 3 in the point standings, with Austin Switzer's Ford in 4th, and then a 3-way tie for 5th through 7th. Remember that only the top 6 make the playoffs right now by different tiebreakers. Caleb McDonald and Marshawn hold the 5th and 6th spots. Jarrett Talmadge is the first one out. And the other news is a schedule change that race number 9, which was originally going to be at Sonoma, is going to be at a brand new track, that being Road, North Carolina, which is a brand new track that has been created, and it's going to be a 12-turn road course within Charlotte Motor Speedway, which should be interesting. There have been some tests there, and my goodness, they've been pretty wild. There's a lot of tight turns, especially a hairpin turn heading into the final turn. A lot of spots where you have to go single file. The other interesting rule is that you have to race below the apron, so that should be interesting. So now it's time to get started with our driver interviews. And the first one we have to talk to, remember, if you don't want to know who won the race, leave right now. Do not listen to any more. But now we got to tell you, Tyler McDonald, your winner of the Daytona 125, is joining us here. Welcome, Tyler.
Hello.
All right, so Tyler McDonald, first question is, how did you do it? So much competition in this race. How are you able to win the Daytona 125?
Well, really, what you got to kind of think about with play races, it's a lot easier to be out front than it is behind someone. I mean, you can easily get up runs, and you can easily get to someone's back home. You can make so many more mistakes behind another car, whether it is wrecking them or wrecking yourself or not, or canceling out your run. Being in front, you can easily be the one to cancel those runs and block it, remove them in. And if you're really good enough, you can mirror drive that race car and really just put it out there. Because those last 3 laps we had in that second lobby we made, I did not get past at all. I got out front and I stayed there. And I was mirror driving. I'll tell you, I got on the apron a couple of times, but Thankfully, we did because we got the first ever Daytona 125 win, and that's super excited for that.
So the battle in Speed Weeks was often between the Fords and the Chevys. Who'd be the fastest? Well, we got a Toyota in first, a Toyota in third, and now that you guys got Nick Barkham on your team, another Toyota. So how about Toyotas 1, 2, 3 in the standings? Do you think you guys can keep it up at Las Vegas?
Oh, I'm sure we could. It's gonna be a little bit of a competition between the 19 and the 18 cars since we already have our momentum built up with the 11 team, which is my team, along with Caleb Rose's team, the number 20. We've already got some momentum built up in those areas of the shop, but since we had to quickly make up some, these new development sections of our race shop, we've really had to like crack down on their teams a lot more than ours. And we lost all of our race cars after the Daytona 125, so we had to build 4 brand new race cars for Las Vegas. And it's definitely going to be a big challenge for us, but we'll be sure to get it done. We got some very great guys working here, a lot of good staff here at Toyota Virtual Alliance, and we're ready to get this one. Hopefully, we can get another win out of the 4 of us in Las Vegas. So, yeah.
One more question before you step away, Tyler, is about your brother, Caleb. He ended up taking the halfway bonus. I mean, is there brotherly love on track? I know you guys drive different manufacturers. Would you ever see yourself working with him on track?
He would be I would consider him a teammate. If I had no other choice besides, any of my, Toyota Virtual Alliance teammates, I would for sure pick him if I ever needed him to. But of course, I mean, I got to go with my 3 teammates first. But he's one of those guys he's one of those drivers that really kind of needs a pep talk, really needs the help. And he's one of those that if you get angry, he's gonna get down a little bit. He's gonna try to get a little bit of revenge, depending on the situation. So if I'm able to help him out, I'll easily be able to do it. I mean, he has not raced many league races at all. I think it was his second league race he won, which was the Tide Racing Series race. I won't tell you which one it was, just in case you haven't seen any the Tide Racing Series races. But he was really excited when he got that. Now that he's driving the 21 car, he really wants to do a lot more races than he first planned on doing, and so he's looking forward to a lot of races, and he really likes Las Vegas, a lot of mile and a half. So prepare to see him doing some work at Las Vegas.
All right, there was a lot of anger after the race. It was a race of attrition, but Tyler McDonald was able to come up in front of them all. Tyler, congrats on your win in the Daytona 125.
All right, thank you.
All right, so what a job by Tyler McDonald in that race. Able to hold off Barkham at the end, and Toyota is going to have a lot of luck on their side. So we'll head to our next interview. Jarrett Talmadge is going to join us here. Jarrett Talmadge, driver of the number 28. So whenever he's ready, we'll get started.
Okay.
All right, Jarrett is here. Jarrett Talmadge, we got to talk to you. First of all, it was a tough Daytona 125. We thought you were one of the favorites. You won the pole. You won the Clash. But, I mean, how did it feel halfway through the race, disconnecting and ending up with a 10th place finish?
Well, it really got to me. It was really sad. We had a great car, and then I believe after one of those wrecks, something got up into the engine area and broke something, and she just let go, and we lost her.
All right, so how do you feel about McGuinness Motorsports so far this season? I mean, McGuinness Motorsports, we're able to get a pair in the top 5. I mean, we were able to get Marshawn and Austin Switzer. You back in 10th. How do you feel that this 3-car team is going to do heading into the rest of the season?
Well, we're really good. It's just that at Daytona we just didn't get the luck we needed. But at Las Vegas, I had a smoking lap there last night in practice. The teammates, not so much. I gotta help them out. They're just having like problem getting their cars able to like turn and get the speed in the corners. So I think we can get them going, and I think we'll be a big threat for Las Vegas.
All right, Jarrett Talmadge, 10th place finish in the Daytona 125. Definitely not what he wanted, but he'll definitely be stronger headed into Las Vegas. So Las Vegas, we do have to talk about before we get to any other interviews. We got to talk about how practice went last night. First practice for the APW Cares 100, and we got to say, Jared Talmadge was fast. He ran a 30.90 in practice, nearly 0.3 of a second faster than anybody else on track. Second fastest with a 31.18, I believe, when you round it, was Donovan David in the 37. And then after that, in third with a 31.26 was Ethan Hoffman, followed by Annie Barr with a 31.38. 1/100th of a second behind him was Austin Switzer, and then Marshawn McDowell rounded it out with a 31.43. So we'll see if our next interviewee is ready. It would be Annie Barr. So Annie Barr, whenever you're ready.
Yep.
All right, Annie Barr is here. Annie Barr finished 8th in the Daytona 125. Definitely the circumstances really didn't work out in his favor. But how'd you feel about the car in Daytona?
It was good.
So how did you feel? I mean, definitely it was rough, but I mean, you were able to get to the front on multiple occasions. How do you feel about the speed for ECU Racing, especially since you have a teammate heading into the rest of the season?
I think it's going to be really good knowing I can work with a teammate now, and plus I have another teammate that might come later in the season, so I think
So you were fourth fastest, rather, in practice at Las Vegas. Do you feel like your car is ready for the race, or is there anything you have to adjust in your 15 Chevrolet?
I think I'm going to try working on getting it a little bit more loose on entry, but besides that, it's a pretty good car.
All right, Annie Barr, thanks for joining us. All right, so one last interview before we go. It will be with Ethan Hoffman, who ended up finishing a frustrating last place in the Daytona 125, but he'll definitely be looking to improve heading into Las Vegas, especially since how fast he was in Speed Weeks. So we'll wait for him to be ready. So let's just see if everything technically is working. Ethan Hoffman, are you here?
By the way, a lot of the people in the chat are complaining they can't hear for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the technically. I don't know.
I can hear you. This is Sam Wilson down here. Ethan's having technical difficulties. He's here now.
All right, Ethan Hoffman. Ethan, you here?
Yeah, I'm here now.
All right, so our final interview of the day. I'm sorry if the sound quality wasn't great, but we'll get that sorted out for next time. We're joined by Ethan Hoffman. Ethan, definitely frustrating what happened in the 125. You turned the fastest lap in Speed Weeks, a remarkable 45.58, but ended up finishing last in the 125. What was that like?
No, it's just awful. These Haas Online guys, they work so hard, and the engine just gave out.
Yeah, so Ethan, one other thing, how is your team going to adjust heading into the future? Because now Nick Barcom has moved on to Toyota Virtual Alliance, so you are back down to a single car operation. What's it like being a single car operation in VRC? Does it hurt you at all?
No, it really actually helps us. We spend more money with the other 2-3 guys in the team. So now we only have one, so we can save up all those $10,000 for tires.
Yeah, definitely.
Save all this money.
So, Ethan, how did you feel about the car at Las Vegas? You were one of the 6 drivers to participate in practice last night. How do you feel about the 4 Ford heading into the second race of the season?
Really strong. It feels like it's much better on colder, worn tires, but and I got the setup perfect. Hopefully that gets me a win.
All right, so Ethan, we are going to get your take on one more thing. I want to ask you, right now, who do you pick as your championship favorite right now in the Virtual Racing Championship?
Right now, Jared Talmadge, he's been really strong. He was strong in last practice, and he had a good car in the Daytona 125, but then his engine gave out as well. So, yeah.
All right, Ethan, thanks for joining us here on the Broken Muffler.
All right.
All right, so that's going to just about wrap up today's show. We had a large collection of guests, which was really great to have. Sorry if it wasn't completely clear in here, but I am also going to make my predictions about a couple things because our next show won't be till after the second race of the season to recap that. My prediction for the race at Las Vegas, I got to go with Jarrett Talmadge. Jarrett Talmadge was just so fast all through speed weeks, and he's the only person to break 31 seconds in a lap at Vegas so far on a VRC car. Look for McGinnis Motorsports to get to victory lane. My dark horse, though, I'd watch out for that 37 of Donovan David, who was fast in practice. Definitely wants to avenge a tough 9th place finish in the Daytona 125. And championship-wise, I gotta put it between 3 drivers right now. Jarrett Talmadge is definitely one of the favorites. But I really think Toyota's going to be strong. And I think Caleb Rose is going to be good. I don't think he's going to be up to the championship point, but I think Nick Barcom, I'd watch out for him. He burst onto the scene with the 2nd place finish in the Daytona 125. I'd watch out for Barcom and Tyler McDonald, obviously. And remember, 2 wins locks you into the playoffs, so Tyler's already halfway there. So thanks for listening this time to the Broken Muffler. We'll see you next time.